Alrighty, so welcome to our Adelaide Metcalfe Council meeting for Tuesday, April 6, 2021, and I'll call the meeting to order. Is there any declaration of pecuniary interest or general nature thereof for members of council? Okay, seeing none, and if you're watching live on YouTube, you'll see Deputy Mayor Hendricks and Councillor McKinnon. Councillor Clark is also joining us, but her video is off because of her connectivity. And Councillor Brody is unable to join us tonight because it's some good weather out there and he's in the field spreading something, I was told. So that's where Mike is. So we have our minutes from our previous meeting. So we have the March 15th, 2021 regular meeting and then March 29th special council meeting, and that was regarding the Kerwood Park renovations. Do we have a mover and seconder for approval of those minutes?
I'll move that, Mayor Smith.
Okay, we'll go with Councillor Clark. So she's on the minutes there and seconded by Deputy Mayor Hendricks. All those in favor?
Aye.
And that's carried. So we have two delegations. At 7:05, we have Derek Richmond for the Ontario Region Campaign Coordinator for the Canadian Union of Postal Workers. And that's a follow-up regarding the correspondence that we had from March 1st. And then at 7:20, we have Lindsay Brock, our Director of Library Services for the County of Middlesex, and she's going to give us an update, and specifically with that library kiosk project that we're looking forward to having in Adelaide Metcalfe. So we're going to, I know it's before 7:05, but we're going to jump right into the delegations because Derek Richmond is here and he is talking about, I believe it's in regards to one of our correspondence items. So I'm going to have him have his presentation there and I'll hand it over to you. And I thank you for joining us to get some more information as to what's going on.
Thank you very much for your time. Again, my name is Derek Richmond. I'm the Ontario Region Campaign Coordinator for the Canadian Union of Postal Workers. I'd like to thank you for the opportunity to speak to Council on expanding service and protecting public post offices. Our public post offices can be used for so much more than they currently are. We know the post office should and can be sustainable in all ways. We can reduce pollution, greenhouse gases, and keep the service financially self-sufficient, supporting communities and protecting good jobs. Our post office that we envision looks like this: retrofitting buildings with solar panels, a countrywide network of electric Canadian-made delivery vehicles, and charging stations at all post offices. This could boost electric vehicle sales and travel throughout Canada, as many with electric vehicles are fearful of traveling great distances because they don't know where they might get their next charge. Canada Post would be the host of a coast-to-coast network of reliable electric charging stations. Charging stations would attract more visitors to the post office, and through service expansion, we could generate more revenue into these small towns. Service expansion such as tourist information, hunting and fishing licenses, and other government services are lacking in rural communities. Our post offices can become a community hub, acting as drop-in centers for youth, seniors, or other local groups, including internet cafes. As big banks continue to leave rural Canada, only to be replaced by predatory payday lenders, our post offices can and should provide affordable banking services to communities just as they did up until 1968. Our post office can do so much more for rural Canadians. To this date, close to 1,000 municipal resolutions were submitted to the federal government on service expansion and postal banking. All these recommendations are outlined within the Way Forward report, the government review on Canada Post. These recommendations cannot simply sit idle and live on paper alone. They must be brought back to life and implemented now. Many innovative and forward-thinking ideas have been put forward in the Way Forward report. These will enhance our nation's infrastructure, social communities, and strengthen economic viability of rural communities across Canada. But we still need municipalities like Adelaide Metcalfe to continue to put pressure on the federal government to ensure rural municipalities receive the service they deserve from their public post office. On behalf of the Canadian Union of Postal Workers, we ask that Adelaide Metcalfe endorse the Delivering Community Power Resolution to support, retain, enhance, and reimagine and expand our rural postal services. Thank you for your time and support. I'm willing to answer any questions or concerns council may have.
Okay, thank you so much, Derek. Is there any questions at all from members of council?
I have a question, Mayor Smith.
Okay, Councillor Clark.
Derek, thanks for your presentation. I've been following it with a lot of interest as a retired banker from a small town community. One of my questions that I have for you is, from a funding model, are you looking for cost recovery from the end users, or are you looking to the municipality to subsidize any of this?
We're looking at Canada Post to be self-sufficient in postal banking. If you're talking about postal banking, there's several models. We could have our own model, so we could tie ourselves up with a federal bank. We can run on our own bank, or we can join forces with another bank or a credit union that doesn't want to service smaller communities, but we're willing to do so. I hope that answers your question.
That does. Thank you.
Okay, is there any other questions at all? Councillor McKinnon?
I'll unmute myself first. Through you, Mayor Curtis, let me see. I just forget your name right now. Derek? Derek. You stayed in here about becoming greener, and you're talking about the electric car. So what are you thinking is going to be happening to these large batteries that are run off of the electric cars?
In what capacity? I don't understand the question, sorry.
Well, the batteries, I would think, would not be a green material that you're stating that your new post office would be because of the solar panels. But the charging stations and that you're going to put up, they're going to require large batteries to run those cars, right? So is that going to be, in your opinion, a problem getting rid of these large lead-based batteries?
You mean car batteries? Lead-based
Yes.
car batteries?
Yes.
Well, we're looking at purchasing electric vehicles, so we're trying to replace our fleet. Approximately, we have about 13,000 postal vehicles servicing the road daily, and we decommission about 1,000 a year. The corporation does, and we would like the federal government to mandate the corporation to bring in 1,000 vehicles a year to replace the gas emission vehicles with electric vehicles. So we're not changing our entire fleet in one go. It's a slow period of time. We're going to replace our fleet. As for communities like yourself, a smaller community who probably has a carrier who delivers by their own vehicle, we're looking at trying to get incentives from the corporation for them to purchase electric vehicles, and the corporation give them incentives. And we're also looking at the government to provide incentives for them to purchase electric vehicle for mail use.
Okay.
I don't know if that answers some of your question or not.
Some of it, yes. Derek, you also state that you would, the post office employees would help to keep seniors in their homes longer. Could you explain how you would be doing that?
Okay, so we have several different models. We currently are doing a pilot project in Prince Edward County right now called the Rural Reassurance Program. And it's our carriers that they don't go to the door. Our rural carriers don't go to the door, but they monitor the lot, a senior's home. So in the wintertime, if the snow's not shoveled, or they don't see the grass being cut, or the mail hasn't been picked up in days, they would reach out to the community group, and the community group would do a wellness check, or somebody could check up on them. But there's several different models. We could run our own model, and provide that services. Our carriers go to the houses in urban areas every day. In rural communities, they do service the mailboxes, but they do travel past those houses to deliver parcels. So it doesn't stop them from visiting a senior. Or again, we can attach with another social services group, right? And provide that kind of assistance as well, where we would talk to a senior for 5 or 10 minutes. We wouldn't offer any support, but if we're getting feedback from the senior that they need some kind of support, we would be able to do an outreach to that community group, and that community group, say the United Way or different community groups, would be able to provide that senior assistance immediately. And of course, if it's a 911 situation or emergency situation, we ourselves would call 911, and most of our staff would be trained in first aid too, if it comes to that kind of emergency as well.
Okay, thank you very much, Derek.
All right, and Deputy Mayor Hendricks, did you have a question?
Yeah, one of my questions has been answered. I guess my other question is the actual infrastructure that's in place. Does Kerwood have a post office right now, or is it just like, so with this model of electric chargers and things, you'd actually have to put infrastructure back where there isn't some right now, I'm guessing.
So if your small community has a post office in a parking spot or a couple parking spots, it's easily retrofitted one of those parking spaces to be provided a charging station. Now, there are different post offices. There are some post offices that are run out of people's homes. We have to look at that. We have to look at every single post office and what the availability is through the municipality would definitely help that out a bit. If we can work with the municipality on getting 2 in one building, or we can keep, and there's some locations where we can't have any. We would look at that as well. Same with the community hub model. It's where available.
Okay, thank you.
Okay. Excellent. And that was really my question, is that in Adelaide Metcalfe, we don't have Canada Post location anymore. And it was kind of hitting home when you were talking about, smaller banks in rural areas, and then also postal offices. And you think of Kerwood in the last number of years, we used to have a TD Bank. We no longer have one there. We used to have one of the post offices, and that was actually in someone's home. And that's no longer there as well. So it's, it's very changing landscape. So with that being said, if there isn't a location then in our municipality, would they consider creating that building there and that new service level for Adelaide Metcalfe, or are we strictly just looking at what is on the ground right now across the country?
Well, I would say there's nothing to stop the municipality from trying to obtain a post office in their community. I don't really have any knowledge based around the corporation's plans for smaller communities. I know that there was some communications with Canada Post in regards to this resolution, that they're looking to work with you in regards to what your community needs. And that's something that Canada Post definitely should be reaching out to Canada Post to try to get that post office in your community, to then start to build a community hub, the charging stations, the postal banking. That's where I would suggest the start would be.
Okay. Excellent. Thank you so much. And is there any other questions before we let Derek Richmond go? Doesn't look like there's any other questions. Thank you so much for answering our questions and having your presentation tonight. And we do have more correspondence regarding this in our upcoming in our council agenda. So we will consider the recommendation, or your recommendation then.
Okay, thank you very much for everyone's time. I really appreciate it. If you have any further questions or concerns, I think the clerk has my email, and I'd be more than happy to assist you in any way I possibly can.
Okay, thank you so much.
Thank you very much. Bye.
Okay, take care. Alrighty, so before we get into our next delegation, we do have a few minutes. I know Lindsay's there, but We'll jump to the correspondence so we can discuss that one item. So the upcoming conferences, seminars, and meetings. So we have our next regular meeting on Monday, April 19th, and then May 3rd and May 17th. So the first item for correspondence is a notice of open house and public meeting for the Warwick Township official plan. Is there any questions or comments on that one? I don't think we need to do anything with that one, but alrighty. And then the next section there is recommended readings. The first one is of the Blue Water Recycling Association. It's their March 2021 notes. And then the next one, which I know that our clerk was looking forward to getting, it's our Township Adelaide Metcalfe compliance results for 2020 for the emergency, what's that acronym there, Jen? Emergency something.
Sorry,
Emergency Management
Coordinator. Yep.
Okay. It wasn't opening up fast enough for me. And then the next section there is action required. And the first one is in regards to universal pay for sick days. Any discussion on this one? Deputy Mayor Hendricks?
Yeah, I agree with a good chunk of the whereases in there. But I'm not sure who pays for it. And I mean, we could have an hour-long discussion on everything around there. So unless somebody really feels strongly about it, I'd move to file.
Okay, is there any other, Councillor McKinnon?
I'd second that motion to file.
Okay, any comments, Councillor Clark?
No.
Okay. This is one I like, obviously, if we're going to file it, that's fine. I would speak to it if there was one other member that was wanting to move it, but that's all right. The next one there, item number.
Sorry, Curtis. My issue is I would want to talk about it in closed because it's it would affect our employees and their remuneration and then their whole package. So I'm not comfortable discussing it in open.
Okay, I understand. Morgan, is there anything you'd like to touch on that then?
Mr. Mayor, through you to council, not really at this time, but if council does wish to chat about this one in closed, happy to facilitate that conversation.
Okay. So why don't we have that so it's received and filed, but the next time we do have a closed, which I believe will be, could be at the next one or the meeting after that, I'm not sure. We could discuss this then. Okay. The next one is in regards to our delegation we just had. Okay, any thoughts on this one?
Sorry, what you're wanting us to
so this
speak
was in regards to the request for support for delivery of community power. It's the delegation that we just had at 7:05.
Right. I think it's an interesting concept. I'm not sure our municipality is big enough that it wouldn't be covered off by an adjoining municipality. But I think it's something we need to keep on our radar.
Okay, any other comments on this one? Okay. Councillor McKinnon?
I'm in agreement with Councillor Clark, like, and with you, Mayor Smith, because as you rightly said, we had a post office, we had a bank, and now we have neither of them, but the community do go to the connecting municipalities to do their banking and do their postal work now. So I thought it was interesting about helping the seniors stay in their home a little longer, but I don't know. I'm a little leery of the whole thing. So.
Okay. And Deputy Mayor Hendricks?
Yeah, not a whole lot to add, but I think it's a little problematic that it's being driven by the union of postal workers that the local postal delivery isn't even a part of. So yeah, it is a little problematic just because of the lack of infrastructure. It's a little past its time, I'm afraid.
Yeah,
but it is
late to the game.
Interesting
late
ideas.
To the party. Yeah, and I mean it's because they're trying to stay viable and to keep jobs, right? So they're trying to reinvent themselves. Like I get it, and there possibly is a need, but we need a whole lot more information. That's for sure. But I say keep it on the radar.
Okay. So it sounds like we'll move on to the next one there, which is a resolution regarding the Planning Act timelines. Morgan or Jen, do you have anything you want to add to this one for council's consideration?
Through you, Mayor Smith, I honestly don't have anything to add to this. I don't find that we struggle with the planning timelines that are in the Act now, given the notices and decisions that I have to send out. So if council feels strong to support it, it's certainly not something that affects Adelaide Metcalfe at this point in time.
Okay. Deputy Mayor Hendricks?
Yeah, I'm glad to hear that we don't struggle with it, because I think from a business point of view, I mean, we used to have to rely on mail for notices. We now do everything electronic. It takes half the time. And I don't see the purpose of holding up businesses longer than we have to for this. And maybe Kitchener needs to hire somebody.
All righty, with that, maybe we'll do a motion to receive the correspondence. Resolve that council receive and file correspondence items CC1 to CC6.
So moved.
Okay, moved by Councillor Clark, seconded by, I'm going to guess, Deputy Mayor Hendricks. She wants to file those ones. All those in favor? And that's carried. Alrighty. Oh yeah, I forgot. We have a delegation 4 minutes ago. Sorry, Lindsay. So let's move back to our delegations there. We have Lindsay Brock, our Director of Library Services, and somebody has a presentation that's going to be thrown up there for Lindsay. Good to see you. And every time I see you, and I know Bill says the same thing, you always have you're always in a different room. I don't know where you are today, but normally you have some nice barn sliding doors behind you from your closet, but you're somewhere else today.
I am, yes, Mayor Smith. I'm downstairs in my dining room because my 2-year-old is upstairs being put to bed. So I thought the noise might be a little distracting.
Makes sense.
Okay, let me get this started for you here. Sorry. Here we go. Everyone can see that now?
Yep, looks good.
Okay, perfect. Well, thank you, Mayor Smith and Council, for the opportunity to speak with you today about this proposal to expand library services to Adelaide Metcalfe. So in this presentation, I'll talk a bit about current library services, what we want to accomplish with this project, and then some details about the proposed pilot project itself. So current library services for Adelaide Metcalfe residents, historically, before amalgamation, I believe you likely had an agreement with Strathroy to access library services there. Once Strathroy joined the county system, obviously your residents have access to any of our 15 branches across the county, but no physical infrastructure within the municipality. Right now, our library services look very different from what they looked like, a year and a half ago. Right now, we are in phased reopening of our library that we started back last summer. So we're currently in phase 2 of that phased reopening as a result of the pandemic. So we're focusing on curbside pickup at 10 of our branches and scheduled computer appointments at our largest 5 branches. And then a suite of virtual programs that are, accessible obviously to any county resident and anyone basically on the internet. So that's where we are right now. We've learned a lot during the pandemic. We basically had to change every aspect of library services And we realized that some of those changes may be permanent. The way people that access library services has changed, what they're looking for, what they're comfortable with. Time will tell, you know, once we reopen fully and welcome people back, time will tell whether, you know, we settle back into our old ways, our previous ways of running library services. But we do feel like there are some changes to be made, some lessons to be learned, and some different opportunities right now that we want to kind of take advantage of. So why consider a library kiosk now? And I'm going to call it a library kiosk or a book vending machine. That's the phrase that has kind of been in some of the articles that have come out about this. So like I said, the pandemic has really shown us that I think this type of service will be appreciated and used by the residents in Adelaide Metcalfe, you know, because we have people becoming more comfortable with curbside pickup and used to kind of, you know, picking items up at their convenience in a location that works for them at a time that works for them that may not align with regular library service hours. So we've learned that. We know that this focus on convenience and accessibility is big. So, you know, having a local pickup point is really appreciated right now and will be in the future. And so that local access to collections and program materials is really one of our goals with this pilot project. You know, bringing our books and DVDs closer to your residents. And also making those program materials available. So right now I said we're running a lot of virtual programs. We are complementing them with craft kits. They're called take and make kits. We're running, next week we launch our Springapalooza program for the new spring break. And we distribute materials that support our virtual programs at those branches that offer curbside pickup. And so that's one of the services that could also work with a library kiosk system. So that's an exciting opportunity. And as well, we have the opportunity of library capital funding for this project. So within the 2021 library budget through the county, we have allocated $65,000 for this project. So that includes the proposed cost of the machine itself, as well as setup and training and any like minor infrastructure costs that would be related to installing the kiosk at its location. So there's that funding. It's been passed by council for our budget, and they're actually allocating municipal modernization funding for it. So it shows that, you know, the county understands that this is an exciting project that looks at offering library services in a new way and delivering those local services to your municipality. So that's for the funding and you know, the basic motivation behind bringing this proposal and this project to your municipality. So on this next slide, you can see a couple examples of what a library kiosk could look like. So the image on the left of the screen is from St. Thomas. So they installed a vending machine in the Elgin Mall there when they were undergoing a renovation at their main site. And it's actually been proven so popular that I think either they still have it installed in the mall or at another location in St. Thomas because it was so well used. So you'll see that machine looks like your typical vending machine that could give you chips or a chocolate bar or something like that. So that's one style of the machine. And then there's also a book return there placed next to it. And then the model on the right hand of the screen, this is from a library in Halifax. And this is a different style where you open the door and you're able to browse the collection a bit more easily, as well as retrieve holds really easily through that machine. So we're in the process of getting quotes and determining what the best model would be for our uses. We're really looking to make sure that we get a unit that's flexible, and that allows the greatest number of opportunities for service delivery so that we're not limited to, you know, just offering holds pickup or just offering a small, tiny collection or something like that. So flexibility is really key with this project. And And I want to point out that we are taking really a learning approach with this pilot project. We want to make sure that we're flexible, make sure that the plan is adaptable, so that we can make changes and adjust based on what we observe as we move forward. So based on how people use the kiosk, who is using the kiosk, and community feedback. That's going to be a big part of this project, and make sure that we're open to any new opportunities that may come in the future. So those are a couple examples of what it could look like. And then just a few details about the overall elements of the project. So location, I'll talk a bit more about that in the next slide, but in general, we just need enough space for the unit and clearance if we get one where the door opens. It needs to be publicly accessible and is in a secure location. So, so I have had conversations with your CAO about potential locations, so we'll discuss those. It also just needs connectivity. So it just needs power and an internet connection because it runs software that connects to our library system, updates our inventory automatically. So there's that connection back and forth between the library software and this unit. And then the next two aspects, logistics. So this is, where the library work comes in. So this project will align with another big project that we have in 2021, which is our RFID tagging project. So RFID stands for radio frequency identification. Basically, we'd be putting tags in each collection item that would replace the barcode. And it's really an inventory control system. I know that your mayor is very familiar with how libraries use this system. He's seen it in action. So basically, if we had when we use one of the kiosks with tagged materials, as soon as you open the door and remove one of the materials, it will automatically check it out to someone's card. So the system recognizes what's in the unit and what's taken out. So it makes that checkout process really seamless and easy for the patron. So, so this kiosk project will align with that broader library project that we're working on. In other aspects of logistics, so we would be looking at what kind of collection items we would put in your kiosk. The sense is that it would be good to start off with something like a quick pick collection. So that's your best sellers, things that you would come across at Costco that are selling out, that everyone wants to read. And so we'd stock the unit with that quick pick collection, so people don't have to be waiting for their hold to come in. They may want to read the most popular book. They may be 20th on the list, but they could come into your office and stumble upon that book in the library kiosk. So that's the sort of experience that we'd like patrons to have. So there's the potential to have that sort of collection. We could have large print books if we, observed that a lot of seniors were using the unit. We could have a children's collection in there if we, saw that families were interested. As well, it could be a spot where people pick up their holds, obviously. So they didn't have to travel to Strathroy to pick up a book that they've placed on hold. That connects to delivery and support. We would schedule regular deliveries, of items to the machine to keep it stocked, make sure the holds are coming in, and then obviously library staff would provide that support for the technology. And finally, so the service as well, we provide patron support. So part of this project would be orienting people to how they use the unit, as well as some training for say your staff who are at the front desk, the ones who may be interacting the most with the public. They wouldn't be responsible for the unit, but we'd want to make sure that they knew how it worked, knew the basics, so that they weren't put on the spot and they couldn't answer, some simple questions about how things work. So we would want to support your staff through that. As well, we would obviously promote the service in different ways, whether it's print materials being sent out in the mail or online. So those are the basic aspects of how this pilot project, we see it rolling out. So like I said, I have spoken with Morgan about potential locations. The units that we're looking at do either work best or must be installed inside. So we know that you know, that means that your municipal office is likely the best location for the kiosk. So Morgan provided a couple photos of a couple spots in the office where a unit could fit. So the measurements work, power's there, the installation would be fairly simple. We do know that obviously you're operating with limited hours right now, or limited public hours. You're operating, you know, by appointment only. So the timeline for this and, you know, how this rolls out, we would make sure that, you know, it aligned with your needs and made sure that, you know, it happens along that same timeline as your reopening does. So those are a couple examples or photos of where it could be installed. And then lastly, just a bit about that project timeline. So you know, our rough plan would be, it would be great to launch this in the fall. That would give us enough time to obviously purchase the unit, make sure that the site was ready for installation, get everyone trained and comfortable. But if that timeline doesn't work, depending on what the pandemic throws at us next, you know, there's obviously that flexibility. So we would want to coordinate that with you and make sure that you were all comfortable with that. Resident promotion would happen at that point, obviously. And then the next phase would be that evaluation phase where we would make sure we're tracking user statistics. We look at different ways to get feedback from the public, whether it's surveys or things like that. And then look for any challenges or opportunities that we need to address. And then obviously adapt. Because this is really a starting point, we feel. You know, this installation, this location, the collections that we start with, it's our starting point. Then we look and see how the unit is actually being used, what the needs are of your municipality, what other opportunities may come in the future for different sites or locations. We really think that this project has the flexibility to be able to adapt to those situations so that it, you know, meets the needs of your users ongoing into the future. So that's overall details about the project. Thank you again for this opportunity. Obviously, we're very excited about this potential to enhance library services in Adelaide Metcalfe, and I'm happy to answer any questions that you have.
Thank you so much, Lindsay. Is there any questions at all? Councillor McKinnon.
Yes, to you, Lindsay, through Mayor Curtis. I don't imagine the library cards are like what I used to have as a library card. Are they more like a debit card or a credit card, and you would just tap it and it would put that book out to you?
Very similar. They don't have the mag stripe or strip that a credit card does. They just have a barcode. So the machine, the machine would have a little spot. You just hold your card under it. It would scan, bring up your library account, and they'd know it was you. So that's how it would work.
And further to that, Lindsay, would the residents of Adelaide Metcalfe be able to get the card at the office if they were new library users?
That's a great idea. Absolutely. You know, if there were those opportunities to make that process, you know, easier and seamless, then we could definitely work with you on that. Yeah.
Perfect. Thank you.
An excellent question, Councillor McKinnon. Is there any other questions at all for Lindsay?
Yes, Lindsay, through Mayor Smith. So you use the example in Halifax of a different sort of delivery method there where you had a larger library access. So is that actually in the library on Quinpool, or is that in, it looked to me like it might have been in a mall. Was it in a mall?
Through Mayor Smith to the councillor, I believe it is in a mall or another like public location rather than the library itself. Yes. And that would explain that. Yeah. Sorry.
Yeah. Cause I was just curious why it would be like there'd be a more expanded option there. So I'm just curious about that. Thank you.
Okay. Deputy Mayor Hendricks, do you have any questions or comments? No. Alrighty.
I'm good.
Excellent.
Looking forward to it.
Yes, this is one of those ones where I was excited. I was on the budget committee for the county this year again in my past warden's role, and I was very excited to see this project was on the budget. And you know, we are the only municipality in Middlesex County that does not have a library. So we finally have a little piece of the county library that's going to be coming to us in a vending machine style, which is very exciting. I will say, and I have mentioned this to Morgan, I just want to say it so then the public can hear me say it as well. I'm not thrilled with the location, but I do understand that there's really limited spaces for the vending machine to go, being that it needs to be indoors and, you know, access all the time. And, you know, really thinking about it, I don't think our fire chief would be, you know, wanting to be at the fire hall every day from certain hours to make sure it's open. And I'm sure Coulter and his guys, we don't want to have them sitting in the works garages from certain hours every time. So it makes sense that it would be at the office. And really it's, you know, thinking back to our 705 delegation regarding the, you know, Canada Post, it's too bad we don't have a Canada Post location in Kerwood, or, you know, that bank or another business that would be able to do that. Maybe we need to knock on the door of Woods General Store and see if that would work in downtown Kerwood there. But I think this is a great step forward. And I think looking, you know, down the line, maybe we'll have another location in Kerwood or somewhere else. But I really hope everyone in the village of Adelaide really takes advantage of this, and in the immediate area that will take a drive to pick up their books there. So thank you so much, Lindsay, for taking the time out of your day, and hopefully your son's asleep by the time you go up there.
Thank you so much, Mayor Smith. Thank you, Council.
Okay, thank you so much, Lindsay. Alrighty, so with that's our last delegation. We have gotten through our correspondence, so we're moving into staff reports. And the first two staff reports there is from our drainage superintendent, Andrew.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. I will keep this brief. Just one moment. I wanted to make sure that I have the right one here. Yes, okay. So in the fall of 2020, it was brought to staff's attention that there was a sinkhole in the property of 1870 Cuddy Drive, the topping drain. The main staff went to investigate. Found that there was a sinkhole, and it was right by the Suncor wind turbine driveway, and I had lined up for it to be fixed, investigated, and fixed.
All right, Mr. Mayor. Andrew, I'm having a hard time hearing you on my side, and I'm seeing some confused faces, so I'm not sure what's going on with your mic, or maybe hold it off your shoulder there a little bit.
How about now?
Perfect.
Okay.
Thank you.
Because this was in the vicinity of the power line that went from the turbine, special conditions had to be fulfilled with Suncor. However, it was found that there were multiple sinkholes on the drain, and there had been sinkholes in the drain in the past. Staff contacted the property owner to the east, and that owner had put in a request under Section 78 of the Drainage Act because of the condition of the drain. It also was not adequate for what he was looking for with demands on drainage now. Basically, the drain wasn't big enough. And so in the map that I provided in this report, you can see the property that's highlighted is the one that had submitted the request for the reconstruction of the drain. And thank you. And my recommendation is that council accepts the request to reconstruct part or all of the topping drain. Secondly, staff be directed to contact all of the landowners from the most recent assessment schedule for the feedback of the scope of work. And so this would be I would send out a notice to try to find out exactly how many properties need a better drain installed. And also that staff be directed to notify Osable Bayfield Conservation Authority to comply with the Drainage Act. So that is the extent of that. I'm open for questions.
Okay, thank you, Andrew. Is there any questions at all? Okay, not seeing any. So the recommendation there is to accept the request. If we have a mover and a seconder for that.
So moved.
Moved by Councillor Clark, seconded by Deputy Mayor Hendricks. All those in favor?
Aye.
That's carried. And then you have your second report there, Andrew, which is the tender results for the Metcal drain.
Yes, thank you, Mr. Mayor. With regards to this, Council will probably remember from last meetings that we had the Metcal drain was the petition was originally received in August of 2018, and just moving forward, the engineer's report was received on May 11th. Now, I do want to point out that the time lag is as a result of COVID. Most municipalities were unaware of how to proceed with the consideration meeting. So in any event, I won't go through everything that's there, but what I would like to mention is the most important thing here is that you can see the contractors that submitted a tender or a bid, and the lowest one was from Van Bree Drainage and Bulldozing, and the recommendation is that council accept the tender from Van Bree Drainage and for the reconstruction of the Metcal drain in the amount of $74,215 plus HST. And I would also like to mention that these numbers were double checked by Spreet & Associates, Mike DeVos in particular, to make sure that nothing was missed and everything was in compliance. And one last thing with regards to financial impact, there is no immediate impact on the 2021 budget, as there is no municipal infrastructure involved with this. It's just the county road, Kerwood Road. So that's one good thing for Adelaide Metcalfe.
Okay, thank you so much. Andrew, is there any questions or comments? Okay, Councillor McKinnon.
Through you, Mayor Curtis, to Andrew. How did that come in according to the drainage engineer's estimate? Are we over or under the estimate?
Through you, Mr. Mayor, we are under. And it wasn't highlighted as well as maybe I should have, but the estimated cost was excluding engineering and grant was $81,085. And so we did come in a fair amount under.
Under. Perfect. Thank you.
Okay. And Councilor McKinnon, do you want to move that recommendation?
Yes, I'll move the recommendation.
Okay, and seconder for that?
I'll second that.
Okay, Councillor Clark. All those in favor?
Aye.
And carried. Okay, is there any other questions for Andrew before he, I'm assuming you'll leave the meeting because there's nothing else on there for drainage stuff?
Well, actually in the accounts payable, there's two entries that I have a question over and they're regarding drainage, so he can maybe speak to those.
Okay. Do you want to wait around there for a minute there, Andrew, then, before we get to accounts? Okay.
Sure.
Excellent. So with that, we'll go into the next staff report, which is from our fire chief, Chief Nordoff.
Hey, thank you. So this report, let's give you a background. At the March 15th meeting, council meeting, council was provided with a verbal report regarding the fire safety grant from the province of Ontario to support local fire service during COVID-19. So this grant went to all fire departments. So there are 441 departments in Ontario, including 32 large municipal services consisting of full-time fire personnel, 215 composite fire departments made up of full-time and volunteer personnel, and 194 small municipal fire services or communities without municipal organization and are made up solely of volunteers. So the Ontario government is providing $5 million in funding to help municipal fire services address the impacts of the COVID-19 pandemic. The funding will enhance fire safety training across the province and support safety inspection programs to ensure compliance with the Ontario Fire Code. COVID-19 created risk and unprecedented challenges for fire departments to conduct training and fire safety inspections. This one-time funding will enhance in-person and online educational instruction needs by increasing access to additional training. It will also support updates to specialized critical equipment such as high-speed internet to enhance virtual training and enable remote options to support fire safety and compliance with Ontario's fire code while minimizing exposure to virus. Ontario's fire departments vary in size and capacities and serve different communities that each present different levels of risk. There are significant costs to ensure every fire department has skilled first responders who are adequately trained. Each municipality submitted proposals in an additional $4,500 base grant plus additional funding dependent on population served. An application was submitted by myself, and we have received notification that the township will receive $5,300 towards training opportunities that must be spent by August the 31st, 2021. So staff is looking for a recommendation from council to approve the transfer payment agreement from the province in order to receive the allocated funds. So the $5,300 is not included in the 2021 budget, as notification of funding came on March the 29th after the 21 budget was approved on March the 15th. So this amount of funding is over and above the budgeted expense of $15,000 for 2021 training in the fire department budget. These funds will enhance training opportunities for fire department personnel. So attached is a letter received on March 29, 21 regarding the funding allocation of the $5,300. So the recommendation is that be it resolved that council received the fire safety grant update staff report as presented by myself, and that council approved the transfer payment agreement between the province of Ontario and the township of Adelaide Metcalfe for the $5,300 grant allocation to the 2021 training for the Adelaide Metcalfe Fire Department.
Okay, thank you, Chief. Is there any questions at all? So just the one question, if I could. So that additional $5,300, does that mean that we're looking at spending $20,300 in training, or are we just looking at reducing, or yeah, I think Morgan understands what I'm meaning. Are we looking at having it so then we have a surplus of $5,300, hopefully in the training budget line?
Well, so to answer your question, so currently we have 4 that have been registered to take a 1021 course, company officer course. So the cost of that course, for instance, is about $1,100 per firefighter. So right away there is that amount. There are other courses coming up. Now, COVID is throwing a wrench into things again because of our lockdown. So, but to know exactly how much we'll spend by the end of the year, I honestly can't answer that. And that is just because of COVID and some other factors. Okay.
And Morgan?
Yeah, Mr. Mayor, through you to council, and just to augment what the chief is saying there, the grant was submitted with the idea to increase training or enhance training. So we're certainly going to maximize on that funding opportunity. If at the end of the year there are remaining training funds, and then we'll have a new decision to make. But really, just to make sure that we're still in alignment with the grant and what we applied for, it's really to increase or enhance our existing training program.
Okay. Excellent. Is there any other questions at all? Okay, seeing none. So we have the recommendation in front of us. So we have the mover and seconder, Deputy Mayor Hendricks and Councillor McKinnon. All those in favor?
Aye.
That's carried. Is there any other questions at all for the fire chief? Okay, seeing none. So we'll move into the Public Works Manager's report. Coulter.
Well, thank you, Mayor Smith. I just have one report today regarding tenders and quotes. Tenders for the supply of dust suppressant and maintenance gravel were issued in the month of March. Tender 01-2021 for the supply of dust suppressant was issued on Monday, March 15th, 2021, and closed on Monday, March 29th, 2021 at 12 noon. We received 4 bids for that tender. And tender 02-2021 for the supply of maintenance gravel was issued on Thursday, March 18th, and closed on Thursday, April 1st at 12 noon. And we received 5 bids back on that one. Tenders and quotes are issued in compliance with the township procurement policy. The successful bids are 552976 Ontario Inc., Clifford J. Holland for the supply of dust suppressant, and Mackenzie and Henderson Limited for the supply of maintenance gravel based on the lowest per unit cost. Both tender results are attached for council's review. The financial impact, the results from both tenders will be incorporated in 2021 budget where appropriate. Based on the bids received for dust suppressant, we are over the estimated 2021 budget amount of $80,000 by $13,750 plus HST. This is due to an increase late in the budget. Just with talking with a few of the other municipalities, it has gone up here as of late. In the last couple of years, actually, it's increased quite a bit. I think 2 years ago it was 56,000. Last year it was 70. That's why we budgeted 80,000 this year, and it jumped up to 90. I believe 93. It's attached, so it has been jumping up quite a bit in the last few years. And based on the bids received for maintenance gravel, we are under the estimated 2021 budget amount of 230,000 by 52,340 plus HST. So that should help with the dust suppressant one. And there are 3 recommendations. Resolve that council accept the tenders and quotes report as presented by the Public Works Manager. And resolve that council approve the tender received from 552976 Ontario Inc., Clifford J. Holland in the amount of $93,750 plus HST for the supply of dust suppressant. And resolve that council approve the tender received from Mackenzie and Henderson in the amount of $177,660 plus HST for the supply of maintenance gravel. And if anybody have any questions, I'd be happy to answer them.
Okay, thank you, Coulter. Is there any questions at all? I know Councillor McKinnon's happy. Her question was answered in the report as to where we were at the budget, so that was good to have that in there. I don't think there's any other questions at all. So the first motion there is to receive this report. Councillor McKinnon, seconded by Deputy Mayor Hendricks. All those in favor?
Aye.
And that's carried. And the next one there is to approve the tender received for the supply of dust suppressant. Mover and seconder.
So moved.
Councillor Clark and Deputy Mayor Hendricks. All those in favor?
Aye.
That's carried. And the last one there, which is the supply of maintenance gravel. Deputy Mayor Hendricks and Councillor McKinnon. All those in favor?
Aye.
And that's carried. And before we jump into the next one, just out of curiosity, Coulter, how many years, it seems like Mackenzie and Henderson always gets that tender for maintenance gravel. Does that sound about right? I think for the last number of years, they've always been the award winner for that one. But
yeah, they've got it a fair bit. I know we went back and forth. Johnson's got it a few years back, and I believe Blaine did as well. So
okay.
It does change from time to time, but Mackenzie and Henderson, they try hard to get it because it's so close. So
yeah, that's what they're always a lot lower than everybody else. It's interesting to me.
Yeah,
because they're so close. Yeah. All righty. Is there any questions at all for Coulter and the Public Works? No. All right. Okay. Thank you, Coulter. And then we'll move into the clerk's report and acting treasurer. So we have the accounts payables. Jen.
Thanks, Mayor Smith. I just have one report tonight for council, and there's two separate payables listing. One is from March 10th to the 31st, but we do have 2020 payments that are still being made, and that's just due to the payees bringing in payments. So for 2021, the summary is $99,518.52. And for 2020, there's $147,862.95. And if you'll note, for 2020, we did receive a credit of $984 that offsets the policing costs for 2020.
Okay, thank you, Jen. And I think there's a question from Councillor Clark in regards to the drainage.
Yeah, so I noticed on the accounts payable, there was two entries, and I apologize, I don't have the benefit of having the information up because I only have one screen to work with. There was like two $5,200 entries, and I wonder if it's a duplication or if it was just coincidentally similar.
I can answer that, Mayor Smith. Through Mayor to Councillor Clark, that is for the drainage superintendent contract with Southwest Middlesex. That's for 2 months. That'd be January and February.
Okay, thank you. That's what I thought it was, but I just wanted to clarify.
Gotcha. I finally found out. I was looking at the top at the drainage ledger, but I see it's the drain maintenance.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. Is there any other questions at all for Jen and the accounts? Councillor McKinnon?
Yes, on the first page, the County of Middlesex, my question through you, Mayor Smith, to the CAO is the $81,396.95 and the $16,024.56. Could you tell me what is entailed in that?
Yeah, thank you, Councillor McKinnon, and through you, Mr. Mayor, to the rest of council. So council may remember back in 2020, we did enter into a county Adelaide Metcalfe management agreement, and it was for a period of 6 months originally. And it included really a high-powered treasury services team, which also included a payroll specialist. Engineering, the CAO, and leadership from Mr. Bill Rayburn. We got significant support in project management. And I guess just for clarification, a little bit of a conflict because I was a previous county employee at that time. So I just want to declare that a little bit. The project management was really my primary role. And then we had significant human resources assistance through that county agreement. So that's where that first lump sum came from. And then after we started to near the end of that 6 month term agreement, so council thought it was appropriate at the time to extend the agreement by an additional 3 months. So that's why you see that second lump sum, and it was for a continuation of all of those services that I had mentioned previously.
Okay, thank you.
No problem.
Okay, is there any other questions at all? Deputy Mayor Hendricks?
Yeah, under joint building services, for RSM to building inspector services, are those are what portion of those have been recovered in permit fees and other fees? Do we have a rough idea?
So Jen, if you want to augment or add, I think what we're really trying to do is just close the books on the joint building services. We do have to do a reconciliation, and we will bring a report back to council for your awareness of kind of all the things that went on during that time, because quite a bit had happened in the last 12 months or so. So if I can ask that we park that question, I can bring back a more well-rounded report that will include that question.
Okay, thank you.
And with that being said, Morgan, that building consultant dollar amount, that is not just strictly for Adelaide Metcalfe, that would be shared with the other two municipalities, correct?
Right, that was shared between Southwest Middlesex, North Middlesex, and ourselves. So not our full cost, it would be reconciled against the usage from those other two municipalities in that service.
All right, is there any other questions for the account payables? Not seeing any, so we need a motion to resolve that council receive the invoice payment approval report as presented by the clerk acting treasurer, and that council approve the account listings for the March 10th to March 31st, 2021 in the amount of $247,381.47. Okay, Councillor McKinnon, seconded by Councillor Clark. All those in favor? And that's carried. Aye. And that looks like it's the end of our staff reports. Is there anything for other business at all? Deputy Mayor Hendricks.
Just a reminder that the Kerwood Optimists will be holding a bottle drive on Saturday. Thinking it's 10 to 1. I'm not sure. There's a poster somewhere on our website. And they'll also be selling, they'll be collecting the empties in the parking lot at the park, and they'll be serving Kerwood burgers at the Optimist Hall. Or selling.
Excellent. And for anybody watching, I'm sure everybody knows what it is. What is a Kerwood burger for everybody that doesn't know?
A beef burger with pea meal bacon, cheese optional. Most people take cheese, but some can't. So, and whatever toppings you like on it. It's the
go-to hamburger when the Optimists have their ball tournament, which hopefully someday soon they'll be able to hold another one.
Mm-hmm.
All right. Is there anything else for other business? Seeing none. So we have our bylaws. So we need a motion to resolve that all three readings be given to bylaw number 24 of 2021, the fire safety grant, the transfer payment agreement. Bylaw number 25 of 2021, appoint bylaw enforcement officers for building department services agreement with Middlesex Center. And I'll just note that we may see this one more often, just in the event that there is a new hire from Middlesex Center. Every time there's a new hire, we need to update that bylaw. So we'll see that probably, hopefully not often, but that's the reason why we will. Bylaw number 26 of 2021, dusted present tender agreement. Bylaw number 27 of 2021, maintenance gravel tender agreement. And finally, bylaw number 28 of 2021, confirm council proceedings, and the bylaws be signed by the mayor and clerk and the corporate seal be attached.
So moved.
Moved by Councillor Clark, seconded by Deputy Mayor Hendricks. All those in favor?
Aye.
And that's carried. And if there's nothing else, we'll have a motion to adjourn at 8:11. Nobody wants to adjourn. There we go. Deputy Mayor Hendricks. We'll get Coulter in there now. We'll get Councillor McKinnon. And all those in favor? And
Aye.